Welcome to medieval Europe, where faith wasn't just about prayer and repentance. It was about blood, pain, and a level of devotion that makes today's practices look like a walk in the park. You see, back then, people didn't just believe in God, they were terrified of him. And to show just how sorry they were for being, well, human, they took their penitence to a whole new level. Enter the Flagellants, a group of zealots who thought the best way to cleanse sin was to beat it out of themselves, literally. Picture this, a procession of men and women marching through the streets, whipping themselves with leather straps studded with metal or glass. Blood streaming down their backs, they believed that every lash was a step closer to divine forgiveness. The more you bled, the closer you got to heaven, or so they hoped. Their public displays of self-torture weren't just for show. They were a desperate plea for God to spare them from the plagues, famines, and disasters that seemed to strike with terrifying regularity. But whipping yourself was just the warm-up. Some people decided that isolation and starvation were the real keys to spiritual purity. Meet the anchorites, who took getting away from it all to extremes. These folks would lock themselves in tiny cells, sometimes getting bricked up inside, with only a small window to receive food. Their days were spent in constant prayer and fasting, rejecting every earthly comfort. Because who needs sunlight or fresh air when you've got the promise of eternal salvation? And if that wasn't extreme enough, there were those who thought physical mutilation was the way to go. Monks who slept on beds of nails, wore itchy hair shirts, or even hacked off parts of their own bodies in the name of piety. Because in their minds, the body was a sinful vessel that needed to be disciplined, sometimes with a hammer. Now, why did they do it? Well, in a world where death was around every corner, thanks to plagues, wars, and the occasional famine, people were desperate to secure their spot in the afterlife. The church wasn't exactly handing out participation trophies either. They preached that the road to heaven was narrow, steep, and covered in thorns. So these medieval masochists figured that the more they suffered now, the better their chances later. But let's be real, this wasn't just about faith. It was about fear, the fear of hellfire, of God's wrath, and of a life cut short by the countless horrors of the medieval world. In a time when people believed the world could end at any moment, self-flagellation and extreme asceticism became their twisted insurance policy. If you thought you had a bad day, just remember, at least you didn't have to whip yourself bloody to feel better about it.